to the Victorious Living Solutions podcast. I'm your host, Nikeya Young, and with us in the studio today is our very special guest and Victorious Living Solutions COO, Mr. Rodney Young Jr. Hello.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
Glad to have you back.
Gonna be here 2 times in a row this season.
I know.
We haven't done that since the lost season.
Yeah, it's been a minute. So we've definitely got to do that more often. So if you missed last week's show, you need to go back and catch up on that. I was in the hot seat and Rodney interviewed me on what it takes to have a thriving mentality. So this week I thought I should interview the man behind the scenes that helps everything go round here at Victorious Living Solutions. And today's topic, we're titling it A Brand That Thrives.
Come on now.
Yes, a brand that thrives.
I'm ready.
Let's get into it. So Rodney is a marketing director by day, okay? And superhero by night. But tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into marketing. Yeah, just tell our audience a little bit about who Rodney is.
Well, Rodney is a lot of things, but I'm going to just start with the marketing. So when I married this beautiful young lady in 2009, I wanted to get her a gift for Christmas, and I wanted to get her a website. So they were quite expensive at that time, hiring a developer, right, to do one. But a friend of mine introduced me to a tool and said, hey, you can kind of make one on your own. I said, let me see if I can figure this out. Okay, so as she was getting agency signed and represented in terms of fashion, I'm like, okay, how can I be the impressive new husband, right, and create a website for her? So I did. I figured out some things. I had no background in it. But decided to just go ahead and take a stab at it. And she liked it, y'all. She liked it.
Yes.
We're still married. So, she liked it. So from there on, I began to update your website every year. Mm-hmm. And I told her, don't you tell anyone I did it.
You did.
Because I was really strongly into music production at the time. And so I didn't want that to get in the way. I don't want people asking me to do their website. I'm like, I didn't want to do that, But I did. I kept doing it, kept getting better at it, right? Mm-hmm. It looked more and more legit as the years went on. And eventually got to a place where I was in a job situation that wasn't the best. We'll say it wasn't the best. I had to make some decisions on whether or not I wanted to be in an unhealthy environment or not. And I decided to leave that situation without anything else lined up, y'all. There's a big story behind this, okay? We were in agreement on that, by the way. Yes. Didn't do that against Nikeya's will. By the way, we had just had our son.
So, he was like 6 weeks old.
Yeah, so Nikeya's great idea was, well, while you're interviewing, why don't you build some websites for some folks? Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be a good way to just kind of bring in some income in the meantime, right? Mm-hmm. That was the beginning of YCS Web Agency. One client turned into another, and another, and another, until I looked up and found out that I was basically making more than I was making in my previous job. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, I think there's a catch to this. So that's how I got into it. And then from building websites, I really wanted to learn more about marketing and branding, the whole thing, because I wanted to be able to service people all the way and not just make a pretty website.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's how I got into it.
Awesome. So you did mention some other things about marketing that you have been learning besides making websites, which he's absolutely awesome at. But what are some other things? We're talking about a brand that thrives. And just from what you've seen professionally and with different clients that you work with, what would you say are 5 things that people need to have in place to have a thriving brand?
Number 1, clarity. Okay. This is usually the big thing that we got to do when we start with a client, right? Mm-hmm. So you're trying to not just survive as a business, you're trying to thrive, right?
Yeah.
So going into that, you need to know who you are. You need to know what you bring to the table. You need to know the value that you bring and how that makes you different. Now, people say, oh, I'm different. And they do the same thing, but you need to have an identity, right? So we sit and really talk to a person to determine, well, what's different about how you deliver this business versus how the person down the street does.
Yeah.
Right. So what is it, your process? Is it the way that you work with the client? Is it your swag? Is it just your style? Right. We just have a different way of doing things. We're not going to be all buttoned up on the front page. We're gonna be real laid back. So it's really about having some clarity around the identity. That's the first thing. Second is you need a solid business. I mean, you need a solid business structure around that. So we end up, so people come to us for a website and we end up kind of business consulting, right? Okay, well then what are your packages? What do you have to offer? You say, okay, I do about 5, I do this, I do that, and we were like that in the beginning, y'all. We did everything. Okay. we did everything from photography to voiceover demos.
Yeah.
I mean, podcast. I mean, you name it. We did everything, but we had to find out what stuck. What was the most profitable thing, and what was the thing that did, that served people the best. Let's put it like that. So you need some clarity around that, around your offerings. And then, of course, the next thing is you need clarity around, number 3 would be clarity around your client, around your ideal customers, right? Because we can't create some branding that really speaks to your client if you don't know who they are. So you need to know who you're trying to serve. Yeah. People tell me, okay, well, I want to serve everybody. I want to be worldwide. Yeah, sure.
Baby steps.
That doesn't work. We need to start somewhere. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you need to start off. So say you are, I don't know, let's say that you're a coach, you're a fitness coach. Okay. And you're just like, okay, well, I just want, I'm on the web, so I want to serve everybody. I want a worldwide audience. I'm like, okay, great. But let's start somewhere. Okay. So maybe it's actually local. Do you work out of a gym? Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about that area. Okay. Let's talk about that vicinity. Let's talk about maybe 100-mile radius around that gym. Because those are the people who are going to most likely book with you because they want to work with you in person. What type of person? Are we talking about business people who get up early? Or are we talking about stay-at-home moms? So we have to start to niche down to who that ideal client is in order to do that. And then the fourth thing is, okay, well, how do we want to express that? How do we want to present it? What type of colors do we want? What type of vibe are we looking for? Okay. Yeah. So when we figure out who that customer is, what type of vibe, what type of, images do we want to display? And then the fifth thing would be, and really, I probably should reverse these, but the fifth thing would be your content. So what type of verbiage are we using? Okay. The language is everything, y'all, because you can have one business that does the same thing as another. But if one business can talk to the customer in their language, okay, if I can speak to you in your language, you're more likely to want to do business with me. And so I work with folks to make sure they have language that actually matches up with the people they want to serve.
Awesome. Good stuff. So let's talk about content for a bit. Lord Jesus.
Content is king.
Content is king, but content is also stressful. What advice? Seriously, there are so many social media outlets out there. There's video content, there's memes, there's GIFs, there's a lot. What advice do you have for someone who does not really know? They're really new at this, and just the idea of even attempting to learn how to create all this content and keep up with the social media Joneses is just making them have analysis paralysis.
Sure.
Like, what would you say to someone like that?
First, I would say relax.
You can't not do it.
I would say relax because people have a they have this idea that they feel that they need to be on every platform, and I need to be putting out like 5 posts a day, and I need to, that alone, it just made me tired. But it makes people tired because they get overwhelmed with the idea of putting out content. So I'm
it's anxiety inducing.
Exactly, it is. So I say first off, relax. Okay, find out where your target market is. Where do they hang out mostly? Okay, you might serve a demographic that is mostly on Facebook, or maybe they're like split between Facebook and TikTok, or whatever. You don't have to be on every platform. First thing, okay, be on the platforms that work best for your audience. Okay, so figure that out. So if you have a clothing boutique, you better be on Instagram. Okay, you better be, okay, because that is fashion, man. You need to be there, right? So you need to make sure that you know where your people are. Producing content, what I recommend for people is, first off, you batch, okay? You batch content. So if you're creating, we're talking about social media content mostly, but I want to go into a few other things as well. Because when people say content, they think social media, but there's also email content, which is largely ignored, y'all. And it's the most profitable. It is the most profitable content you can produce. We'll get back to that. Okay. But beyond email content, you want to make sure that your content, once again, is produced on a regular basis. So you do need to be consistent. Okay. So if you're doing an email newsletter, I tell people emails once a week is the best. But if you're going to do every other week, or you're going to do a monthly, make sure it's consistent. Okay. So whatever the cadence is, if you're not sure if you can do weekly, start off with monthly. Okay. And then make a really fire monthly newsletter. Okay. Social media, once again, it depends on how your audience interacts. On most platforms, I recommend, at least 3 to 5 posts a week. So you're talking about, at least, your weekdays and, maybe a weekend or here or there. But make sure that you are showing up regularly. Okay. LinkedIn, you want to make sure that you're writing long form content. So you need to write some articles. You need to write some stuff that's interesting, right, to the people you serve. And then just share it, just share it. When you write on LinkedIn, you can be viewed as an authority if you're consistent enough.
I love it. Talk about brand authority. That's a good segue. So what does that even mean, and how do we achieve it? Not just on LinkedIn, but just in a general sense, to become a go-to expert, so to speak.
Absolutely. Well, brand authority establishes your credibility, basically. Okay. It's how credible you are to your audience. Do they think that you're legit? Do they think that, and brand authority comes in various ways. Testimonials is one of the quickest ways that you can start to develop brand authority. Good. So as you start to work with a client, make sure you're getting those testimonials. Yes. Okay? Get them. And what it does is it proves to people the effectiveness of what you do. So then now when you have something to say, they're willing to listen because, they have about 79 5-star reviews here, or, this is what this major person said. The other way I strongly recommend, Nikeya is great at this, is get LinkedIn recommendations. Ooh, okay. Yes. LinkedIn recommendations are actually a pretty high form of brand authority that people can get. They just don't think to ask. They work with someone, whether it be with their business or in a job, right? Don't discount your day job. That can very much be a great thing to build your credibility. But make sure that you're getting those testimonials. The other is media. Okay. Yes. So media mentions, media features. Okay. You'd be surprised. Major media outlets are looking for good stories all the time. Okay. Yes, they're looking all the time. So develop a pitch list, start to pitch ideas. And even if you're not going to a major media, like a TV station or a radio station, look at some blogs, look to be a contributor on a blog. And as you start to work with these different channels, it starts to build your authority. Okay. And it doesn't happen overnight, y'all. It takes some time. So once again, relax. Just relax, And my son back there he's cracking up because we used to say that a lot to him. Relax. But yeah, just make sure that you relax and look at this as a long game strategy.
Okay.
But make sure, once again, that you're consistent. That you get out there, that you offer wisdom, you offer advice, you get the features, and before you know it, you'll be a known expert.
Love it, love it, love it. See, I told you guys, this guy knows his stuff. So, all right, so here's a good one. What are some of the most common brand mistakes that you see people making? It could be with content, it could be with their websites.
Let's not start on the website.
We'll be here all day. We will be here all afternoon. But what are some of the most common brand mistakes that you see?
All right, well, I'm going to go to the websites because that's just where I'm at. If I get on your website and I'm confused, no, right? If there's too much text, okay, there's too much, you're trying to write your whole life story, right? I mean, there's a novel right here.
A wall of text.
On the home page,
in 10-point font.
Guys.
Single spaced.
Less is more, okay? Less is more when it comes to website content. Okay, so keep it punchy. Now, there are pages, interior pages, maybe your about page where you go into more detail about what you do. But on that first page, you need to, in like 2 seconds, you need to grab my attention, okay?
Okay.
On a website, by the way, and if you have a website and you're kind of operating your own website, I'm going to give you a hot tip that I'm still surprised that I don't see it used a lot, in some instances. In the top right corner, there needs to be a button telling people what you want them to do. Okay. And so you're telling them their whole life story, but some people just want to get straight to it. How do I buy something? How do I book a consultation with you? So, we're sharing something right now on the screen where you can see this, but on the Victorious Living Solutions website, at the very top right, you see schedule a call. Because that's what we do. We do business by starting off with consultation calls. So I don't want to make it hard for somebody to figure out how to do business with us. Okay. And so use that top right corner, to your advantage. The other thing I see is a lack of consistency when it comes to content. Okay. So if you're going to start to post, and I'm getting excited because I'm getting these newsletters every week, and all of a sudden you ghost me for 2 months, it's just like, well, what happened? And then you like try to show up like a year later and like, hey, I'm back, Well, first off, believe it or not, Gmail might not believe you, because Gmail, in some of these email programs, if you're not consistent in their inbox and they're not opening up your emails, they consider it, this may not be a legit email, and it might end up in like the spam folder, or it might, it may damage what we call your sender reputation, where all of a sudden now your emails are not getting seen by the people that you're sending them to. So be consistent. Less is more when it comes to content.
Okay.
And then, once again, just don't be afraid to ask for help.
I'm not, by the way.
She don't
help.
Right.
Please help me.
She is not. She's not shy. She's like, look, help me.
I know what my ministry is and what it ain't.
I get it. Sometimes we're on a budget. Sometimes we got to do, I told you I had to do this thing, with her, but like we had to build a website on my own, and do what you can do. But then at some point you may need some help. If you're struggling and, you just don't know how to get your website right, look into some help. There are web designers like my agency that will work with you where you're at. So maybe we don't need to build the thing from the ground up. Maybe we just need to tweak what you have.
Yeah.
And so do ask for help.
Awesome. So now let's get into websites a little bit more, because when do you need a website? And what all should be on there? Because some people are like, okay, a website, I know, but I don't really have anything to put on there. I don't really know what goes on there. I don't really have any pictures. I got some cute selfies in my phone. Maybe I could use those. But what should go on a website? I don't know. And they're really expensive, so you don't want to pay a lot of money and then you don't even have anything to go on there.
First off, have a business. Okay, let's just start there. Okay, have a plan for your business. Don't come and start, to a web designer if you're not really quite sure what your business is. So think, and I'll tell you, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Okay, I've been been an entrepreneur for a long time, and don't be afraid to try. Okay. And so if you have a skill and you don't have to wait until you have all your branding tight, to bring in a customer. Okay. I brought in my first customer before we even named my company. All right. So I'm just saying, once you have a good solid idea of your business and what you have to offer, everything doesn't need to be perfect, but you do need to have a good working plan for your business. So that's awesome. If you have that, then trust me, there's a lot that you can work with there in terms of putting things on your website. What you'll want to make sure you have is you want to make sure you have a description of your business. So like a short, paragraph or two about, so-and-so enterprises, right?
Yeah.
You're going to need to have a little bit of, and many times if you work with a web agency like mine or anybody else's, they'll probably walk you through that and they'll probably request that content from you. Okay. So they'll say, okay, if you offer certain type of services, you're going to need to have something written up about those services. So a very short description will do, a paragraph or two is cool. You don't need to write a lot about it, but make sure that at least we know what it's about. Okay.
Sounds
good. And then, you do need some photos. And so depending
don't use selfies.
Hey, I'm not going to totally hate on selfies because
my God.
But if I can still see the arm. No, don't do that.
Also,
but let me tell you something. You can use an iPhone for pictures, okay? So, don't discount your phone at all, but make sure that you have professional looking pictures.
Yeah.
Make sure at the very least, wherever it features you, that there's a nice clean headshot.
Yeah.
And once again, there are ways to do that on a budget. But I do strongly suggest working with a photographer. That way you're going to get the best stuff.
Awesome. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about your company. You've got YCS Web Agency, and then you have a new company.
So yes.
Thrive and PO. Tell us about those.
Absolutely. So YCS Web Agency is a full service website design firm. So what we do is we literally work specifically with people on websites. So we work with many different types of companies. It could be for-profit, nonprofit, startup. We work with folks in healthcare technology, lawn service, hair design. I mean, we have covered the gamut. We've done over 100 projects. You can go to ycswebagency.com to learn more about us and to book an appointment if you're interested. But out of YCS Web Agency, we just launched a new brand called Thrive NPO. Much inspired by this season, I'll say that.
Yes.
But Thrive NPO is a nonprofit marketing agency. And so I've worked in nonprofits for going on 20 years. And we just really sense the need in the nonprofit community for partners who will work with them with their marketing. And so we work with nonprofits, schools, faith-based organizations to develop more of a full marketing strategy and execution. So it's more than just a website. We work with you guys on brand identity. We work to clarify their target market. We work with fundraising. We work with board development. You name it, any type of stressors that you're going through when it comes to your marketing and communications, go to thrivenpo.com and book an appointment. I'd love to talk to you about it.
Yay. I'm so excited for Thrive NPO and everything the YCS Web Agency is doing. I'm proud of you. I have to say that. I have to put on my wifey hat. I am proud of my man and his amazing team. So tell me this, you mentioned earlier about the websites and how you would update my website every year. He still does that, by the way. I was going to say, should you ever update your website more than once a year, or how much is too much, or when should you update your website?
So if you never update your website between year, then your website is likely pretty stale.
Yeah.
The one mistake, I guess this is a mistake I could talk about, is I'll see people's websites and they're very dated and stale. There's nothing new on their website, nothing indicating. I go to their calendar page, there's nothing new. But then I go to their social media and I can find out everything they're doing. So you're missing really, really good opportunities to actually communicate to your company or to your audience by updating your website. So I recommend, as much as you're doing things, once again, that's another thing that you can build a cadence in for, so some people is maybe once a month, based on the rhythm of their business. Maybe they want to have a blog or an updates page or something that talks about it. For Victorious Living Solutions, we update the website every week because we come out with a new podcast episode. And so for us, podcast is one of the pieces of content that we put out on a regular basis. So I would say, as often as your business is, and you may say, well, all we're doing, we're just completing new jobs and stuff. Showcase your work.
Yes.
Showcase your work. Good. Have a section where you can just say, hey, so here's some of our latest projects. And you could feature a client, which the client might appreciate that, right? So definitely keep it fresh. Don't let your social media be the only thing that's fresh. Make sure that your website is fresh.
I love it. Love it. Love it. So as we wrap up, what final thoughts do you have? Somebody's going to see this and they are getting ready for 2024.
Come on.
And they're like, look, I need my brand to thrive so that my pocketbook can thrive.
Come on. Yeah.
What final words do you have of encouragement or advice or anything like that?
Well, there was something I touched on and I didn't really go into it, but email is probably one of the most overlooked and most profitable sources of promotion that people don't use.
Yeah.
Emails remain because people have thought that, well, social media, we got social media here. We can reach people quicker and stuff like that. But the truth is that unless you're not paying to play with social media, they ain't seeing your stuff. I don't care if you got 7,000 followers. You have to use ads on social media to actually reach people, which I do recommend, by the way. But email is actually people are more than twice likely to take action on emails than they are on social media posts. So
that's good.
So if you have something, so you need to build an email list. And then when you have an email list, email them. Don't just have an email list and I guess I should send out I would place that as a higher priority than your social media. Really, I would put that as a high priority. We've built communities, around email lists, and so they feel, okay, I'm glad to be the first to know, and so definitely use that email list. And overall, I would just encourage you, take 2024 by the horns. Okay, there's a lot of people a lot of businesses and organizations who, because of the economy, they're just kind of scaling back. Well, I don't know. There's a lot of nervousness. But during chaotic times is when many businesses thrive. You have to think differently. Okay. And so be opportunity minded as you go into 2024. Make sure that your branding, that your communication is on point. Book a consultation call today. Okay. Go to YCSWebAgency.com. If you're a nonprofit organization or you work for a nonprofit, go to thrivenpo.com. Book a consultation call. It costs nothing. We want to learn more about how we can help you thrive in this next year.
Awesome. And thank you all for tuning in. Again, I'm your host, Nikeya Young. And thank you so much to our special guest, Mr. Rodney Young Jr. And we look forward to seeing you next week for next week's episode. It's our final episode of the season. But again, thank you for tuning in and keep living victoriously. Bye, everybody.